Hey there, Dr. Brad here from Advanced Chiropractic here in Tumwater, Washington. And I wanted to go a little deeper into what I talked about in a previous video, which was about the number one thing I would remove from your diet, or my number one thing to remove from your diet for health and vitality, and even in improving if you have metabolic disease like diabetes, heart disease, or even if you want to lose weight. And that number one thing was industrial seed oils. Now, in that video, I mentioned that I would go into it a little deeper and let you know a little bit more about the problems with the industrial seed oils. So here's that video. So what are such industrial seed oils? So they're typically or generally called vegetable oils. And so those are things like corn oil, cottonseed oil, canola oil, safflower oil, soybean oil, or sometimes they're just called vegetable oil on the package. Anything oil that comes from a vegetable. Now, there's two that really come from fruit that you might think are vegetable oils that we'll get to later, and that's avocado and olive oil. Oh, and coconut oil too, I suppose. Those are not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about all those other ones I mentioned. Soybean oil, vegetable oil, canola oil, safflower. Those are the ones we hear about the most. So really, I'm going to go over four main problems with those oils. Four things that they cause difficulty within our body. So they've been touted for really decades now as being heart healthy, or the good oils to reduce cholesterol and improve heart health. Even though there's been study after study after study, I mean really thousands of studies that have shown this really to not be true, it's still pushed by mainstream nutrition or food, food pyramid and American Heart Association and so forth. So I just want to dive a little bit into some of the problem areas. So number one, and I'm glancing down at my notes there if you're wondering why I'm looking that way, but number one, these oils are what's called pro-inflammatory. So the chemicals in these oils cause inflammation in our body. And so there's a number of reasons. One, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but one, if you've ever heard of anything called the omega oils, like omega-3s and so forth, there are different omega oils, omega-3, omega-6, omega-9, and so forth. And for our body to function correctly, we need a good balance of these oils. And those vegetable oils have a very high level of what are called omega-6s. And if we have too much omega-6 oil, which would happen if we're eating these vegetable oils, that throws this balance that's between omega-6 and omega-3 out of balance in our body. And that leads to systemic inflammation. Systemic inflammation means inflammation everywhere in our body. But one of the most important and problematic places this occurs is inside our blood vessels. If we have inflammation inside our blood vessels, it causes damage to the blood vessels. And this is what often causes heart disease and cardiac disease. Systemic inflammation also affects our ability to deal with sugar, hence how it can help in the causing of diabetes and blood pressure as well. So that's number one, it's pro-inflammatory. Number two, it actually promotes body fat accumulation. So these type of oils cause our fat cells to actually seek out sugar and store them in the fat cells, which actually causes for fat accumulation. So it's really just been shown that high consumption of these oils causes for your body to accumulate fat, more fat, based on the level of caloric intake. So we got systemic inflammation and body fat accumulation. Sounds like pretty bad stuff so far. Number three, these oils are often made into what's called trans fats in their processing because they're heated and at high temperatures. Trans fats are one of the worst things that's been introduced to the food supply. Trans fats cause destabilization of the cell membranes of every cell of your body that they come into contact with. That's a problem because the cell membranes are like the skin of the cells. They're a structure. And so if the skin or the structure of the cell gets destabilized, the cell won't function right. And that could cause organs to not function well, cause the cells to die. It can cause genetic mutations, which is a real problem because genetic mutations can lead to things like cancer. Also, even if they're not trans fats, from the container, like margarine and things like that, or anything that's partly hydrogenated as a trans fat, they're also very unstable. So when you heat these oils, they can turn into trans fats and other harmful chemicals. So that's number three. So number one, pro-inflammatory. Number two, pro-fat accumulation. Number three, trans fats and unstable oils that can cause all kinds of problems in our body. And number four, they are nutrient void. They're empty calories. So natural fats, which we'll get to the good fats here in a second, have all kinds of healthful benefits, nutrients in them. These seed oils are really empty of any of those nutritional qualities. So you're getting a lot of calories with nothing added. We hear about empty calories with like sugary things, sodas and stuff, but this is like the fat version of the empty calories. So you want good nutrient dense calories, you don't want nutrient poor calories, and these fats are nutrient poor calories. So what are some good oils? And I'll tell you, and I'm listing these in my order of value. So number one is animal fats. This is everything from butter, which is an animal fat, to lard, beef tallow, etc., duck fat. These are your number one fats. This is what I try to use mostly for all of my cooking, are animal fats. If you don't have them, or you want some other options, the three best non-animal fats to use are coconut oil, avocado oil, and olive oil. Now with olive oil, you really shouldn't heat it at all because it becomes unstable. Avocado oil, you can heat some, but you wouldn't want to do too much. Coconut oil, you can heat more than that. All of those oils, the animal fats in particular, but also those other plant-based fats, if you want to call them that, all have good nutrition and various things that help balance out your body's lipids, and also have fat-soluble vitamins, which are really vital to our health. So hopefully this helps, tells you a little bit about why seed oils are so important to get out of your diet. And they're in a lot of stuff. So start reading labels, ditch that stuff out of your kitchen, switch it out for the good stuff. All right, you guys take care. We'll see you next time.